MechWarriors, welcome! I am Yusrael, and this is the first in what is going to be a fairly irregular series looking at oddball mech designs that you are quite likely to encounter on the battlefield of MechWarrior Online. We're going to start with a variation on the catapult that is not uncommon, but it's not the most frequently encountered mech either, namely the Gausspult. There are variations on the theme, as you might expect, but we're going to focus on the core mechanics. Start with a Catapult K2. As you can see, this is the trial version, so it's the stock config, 20 heat sinks, PPCs as the primary armament, lasers as mid-range, and crucially a pair of machine guns as the oh god holdout weapons. What that translates to, of course, is a pair of ballistic hardpoints, one in each of the left and right torsos. And I have no idea who first came up with this, but some bright spark realised, hey, what happens if we dump all of the excess weaponry and equipment and crowbar the biggest pair of guns we can into a Catapult K2? Well, the answer is the Gausspult. There is actually a lesser known variation called the Whackapult, which uses autocannon 20s, or in extreme cases ultra autocannon 20 if we ever get those in game, but it's a less effective design. AC-20s have a fairly heavy heat problem, and this mech goes so heavy on the guns that you don't really have the room for anything else. Unfortunately, that includes heat sinks and a decent engine. So we'll start with a stripped back K2. As you can see, 19 tons, 304 points of armour. Let's just take a look at that for a second, because this is already done. You'll notice I have completely stripped the armour on the left and right arms. I don't intend to put anything in them, so that's basically ablative hit points at the moment. Centre torso is fairly heavily armoured, 62 points front, 22 aft. Head is absolutely capped at 18 points. It's somewhat ironic if a sniper mech gets a headshot, but it does happen, particularly with the catapult, which has this lovely, lovely exposed cockpit. Left and right torsos aren't quite so vulnerable, and slightly harder targets if, like any sensible mech warrior, you're actually aiming at your enemy. But you do have to worry about flank shots, so it's a good idea to have some armour on those. Legs are just medium armoured. Again, there's no particular reason, and if I was looking to make more tonnage savings, the leg armour is the first thing I would strip down. Core armament, of course, is going to have to be a pair of Gauss rifles, so we'll slap those in. There we go, there's one. And switch over to the torsos on the other side, load in the second. So as you can see, we're up to 49 tons. We have got, 16 tons left for ammunition, holdout weapons, and an engine, plus anything else we can cram in. So, holdout weapons first. Personal preference here. Some people don't take any holdout lasers, and I consider that to be a mistake. Eventually, of course, you are going to run out of ammunition, and it never hurts to have a pair of medium lasers in a mech design. Nice, average, reliable standbys come here. There we go. So, pair of medium lasers as a holdout, and right, stuff in the engine at the moment. Now, we could go for an XL engine here. It saves on tonnage, but the downside is that, of course, you burn a load of crit slots, and at the moment I need those for ammunition. Bear in mind, as I said, the torso is the only thing that's armoured. I've left the arms unprotected. I don't really want to load anything into the arms if I can avoid it. They will get shot off. There's also the simple fact that XL engines are freaking expensive. I mean, look at this, okay? So an XL 200, 3.2 million credits. A standard 200, 800,000. Cheap. I actually have an a standard 170 ready to go, so we'll stuff that back in there for a second. Okay, so we now have 10 tons left. Notice the speed, by the way. This thing can just about keep pace with an assault mech if it tries hard. It doesn't have to, of course, because the whole idea is that this thing hunkers down behind the lines and takes pot shots. Ammunition is the next concern. We'll just load up as much as we can. Now, we'll load in another 6 tons, so that's 30 shots per rifle, which is usually plenty. I've got 4 tons left to play with here, so dooby-dooby-doo. Yeah, I could, if I wanted to, load in another couple of tons. However, as a safety net, what I am going to load in, as soon as I can find the hard point, where has it gone? Oh yes, right torso. I am going to load in an AMS, because the first thing that's going to get thrown at me, at long range of course, is an LRM, so if I can cut down on the incoming fire, well, that is generally a good thing, and since we've got a spare slot in the cockpit, let's just slap some AMS ammo in there. Like so. Right, so what have we got left to play with? 2.5 tons. Yeah, let's just stick some more Gauss ammo in. Dump. 1. Come on, thank you. And dump 2. Okay, so that looks pretty solid. Save that off. Wait for the changes to register. There we go. So, note I only have 6 heat sinks. This, you can get away with this because Gauss rifles don't generate too much heat, but I'm going to have to be very, very careful with the lasers. Even with only 2 of them, heat is going to be a real problem. You'll notice heat efficiency is only rated at 0.97, which is a smidge below average. Speed is 42.3, and all things told, that's going to be, well, you're either going to win big or you're going to lose big. So, with the theoretical concluded, let's get on to the practical. In terms of weapon setup, at least the way I have my Gausspult rigged, lasers are on weapon group 1 as a holdout weapon, and the Gauss are on weapon group 2. Note that they are twin-linked. The AMS, of course, is passive and just does its own thing. As I mentioned when we were fitting this out, it only does 42 kph. The torso twist rate, as you can see, is absolutely glacial. This is what you get for sticking a 170 engine into a 65-ton mech. The other thing you need to get used to is the fact that you're going to spend a lot of your rounds looking at the world through thermal vision, because this makes it very easy. On most maps, Caustic Valley and any other high temperature environments will be an exception, to pick out mechs at extreme range. You can see there we've got some nice blue blurs. Not going to be able to do much by way of actual targeting, but centre mass and take our shots. There we go, might get another shot in. Range is a little long. Yeah, missed and he's moved, so we've lost the shot. Gauss ranges, optimum range is 660 metres. Effective maximum range is 1,320 metres. You'll be losing damage over range after 660, but getting smacked at more than a kilometre away does tend to put most people off their game. The other big advantages of the Gauss as opposed to the PPC are that 1, there is very little in the way of visual signature. So unlike, say, a large laser where there is a big blue line coming from your firing position, here there is a bit of a shimmer in the air as the shell passes, and not a lot else. Whoomp. Missed him. Scout mechs, unfortunately, are a pain in the neck to hit if you have even the slightest lag, or if the scout pilot knows what he's doing, and should always be treated with considerable respect. The next advantage of the paired Gauss rifle in this setup is that the shot grouping is very, very tight. You can reliably put both rounds into a single hit location. What that means is that if you do somehow get a headshot on any mech, or a torso shot as just happened there, you will basically do crippling damage even with only one solid hit. Maximum head armor on most mechs is 18 points. Well, the Gausses do 15 each, pair that up for 30 damage. Your first shot is going to strip the armor and do some internal damage, and if your first volley doesn't kill, your second probably will. Of course, that's counterbalanced by the problems of making a headshot against a mech that's moving and turning in the first place, but that's going to be an issue with any kind of weapon, even the lasers, because of the need to keep the sights on target for an extended period. If you'd rather play the percentages, then a better option is simply to target key locations on a given mech. So with an Atlas, for example, a good shot is going to be the right torso, even if they haven't loaded an extra large engine into the mech, in which case taking out the right and left torsos is a kill. Then you're going to take off the torso and any weapons in it. You're also going to take off the attached arm and any weapons attached to that. So if you're not sure of your ability to make headshots, then I highly recommend the left and right torsos as being an option until you think you can. Obviously we're at close range here, lasers just as a holdout, and bang. The nice thing about Gauss weapons compared to PPCs is that they don't have a minimum range. So, yeah. Unlike, say, LRMs or, yes, standard PPCs, where you can counter to an extent by actually getting close, all getting close with a Gauss weapon user does is make it easier for him to line up his shots. The exception, of course, is very, very close range, where a scout mech will be able to get behind you, stay behind you, and you are going to need some serious help in scraping the irritating little sod off your torso armour. Your other option, of course, is just stepping on him, but that doesn't work. Since the K-type cannot fit jump jets, you also have a mobility problem that's exacerbated by only having a top speed of about 40 kph. If you are caught away from a key location, if the fighting moves away from you, say, for example, you're in midfield and they run a couple of scouts into your end zone, then you are going to have real trouble, because you're not going to be able to get back in time to make a difference. The absolute do not do with a Gausspult, as it is really with any catapult, barring a couple of obscure SRM-based variants, is getting close with an enemy. Catapults are not built for close work. Yes, they have 10 tons of armour as standard, but you're really not supposed to be doing it, because that armour is mostly on the centre torso and your cockpit is a freaking huge target. Essentially, close is bad. This is a sniper mech, for heaven's sake. You can do maximum damage at 600 metres. What are you doing at 60? But that is really the main weakness of the Gausspult. It is a sniper mech. If you consider close-range brawling to be undignified, and if ruining someone's day from 1,000 metres gives you that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, then, to borrow a line, we've got your mech. I'll see you next time.